The quietest voices carry the heaviest secrets, buried deep beneath layers of time and silence. In the forgotten recesses of the internet, beyond the reach of casual browsing, there lies a shadowed corner where whispers flicker, fragments of the WhisHdom stories, ancient and fractured, pulsing with a restless energy that refuses to die. These are not the tales told around campfires or written in books. They are more like echoes caught between moments, almost too faint to grasp, yet impossible to forget once heard. They drift in the spaces between waking and dreaming, slipping in like a breath on the back of your neck, stirring something primal within, something that knows it must not be touched but can never fully resist. They come like shadows crossing your mind's edge, seeming at first like myths spun in the dark, yet beneath their surface lies a creeping unease, stories gnawing at the fragile barrier between reality and something far more sinister. What if these tales are not mere fantasy, but faint remnants of a truth deliberately buried? What if the stories are not just fictional fabrications but coded transmissions, warnings from those who glimpsed the abyss and lived to tell the tale? Every deleted post, every vanished thread, every redacted timestamp tears open a wound in history, bleeding fragments of a reality too dangerous to confront, too incomprehensible to articulate. These whispers began long before anyone put them to text, passed down in hushed tones between those who still remember the fractures in the world's veneer. The earliest documented WhisHdom narratives appear on obscure message boards in the early 2000s, dismissed by many as nothing more than urban legend, yet strikingly consistent in detail, as if all told from the same fractured source. These accounts share common motifs: encounters with shadowy entities not quite human, knowledge imparted in a language that twists the mind, and an overwhelming sensation of grief and guilt as if the very act of knowing these things corrupts the soul. Reddit threads reveal chilling accounts from users who claim personal encounters with what they call WhisHdom entities, describing an almost hypnotic transmission of knowledge and dread. They speak of dreams that bleed into waking life, memories that don't belong to them, and an ancient presence lurking just beyond perception. Many describe a sensation of being watched, hunted even, as if this knowledge carries a price, one paid in sleepless nights, fractured sanity, and an unshakable feeling that the world around them has subtly shifted, become something unrecognizable. These are not stories to be shrugged off but warnings in disguise, coded messages from a hidden dimension bleeding into ours. Psychological speculation paints these narratives as manifestations of primal fears, the fear of forgotten knowledge, forbidden truths, and the human mind's terrifying capacity to grasp what it cannot fully understand. The WhisHdom stories tap into something buried deep within the collective unconscious, a trauma older than memory itself, triggering an almost instinctual dread. They exploit the thin line between reality and nightmare, between sanity and madness. Each story pulls the listener deeper into a labyrinth of shadows, where every turn reveals a new fragment of lost history, a new thread to unravel, and the growing suspicion that there are forces beyond comprehension, watching from the darkness, shaping reality like a puppet master. Anomalies in timestamps and deleted archives suggest intentional suppression, an invisible hand erasing evidence as if someone, or something, wanted these stories lost forever. Entire threads disappear overnight, accounts vanish without trace, and servers hosting key fragments mysteriously go offline. Even more unsettling are inconsistencies in official records, documents redacted, references omitted, and timelines that refuse to align, hinting at a coordinated effort to bury this knowledge beneath layers of silence. What are they trying to hide? What is the true cost of these stories being told? And what happens to those who dig too deep? At the emotional core of these whispers is an overwhelming sense of grief for a lost reality, a world before the fracture, before the WhisHdom entities slipped through the cracks. There is guilt too, a haunting burden borne by those who uncover what should remain hidden. They carry the weight of forbidden knowledge, a secret that eats away at their souls, isolating them in a lonely obsession. The more they learn, the less they recognize the world they live in. Reality itself begins to unravel, revealing a vast, unsettling tapestry woven with shadows and silence. The WhisHdom stories do not simply tell of darkness. they invite it in, whispering that once you listen, you can never forget. And some things, once known, can never be unseen. Silence stretches long, a void that swallows voices whole, turning whispers into echoes that fade before they fully form. In the vast emptiness surrounding the WhisHdom stories, every word that surfaces seems to vanish, every document dissolves into redaction, and every witness is swallowed by a fog of erased memory. What lives in the spaces between what is said and what is silenced? Who controls the unseen microphones, the watchers beyond the watchers, and what darkness compels them to smother the truth beneath layers of manufactured quiet? Here, the fragile line between conspiracy and collective madness twists and blurs, and every fragment uncovered only multiplies the questions, making the silence itself feel like a scream, muffled and desperate, trapped beneath the weight of denial. Fragments surface in government archives. FOIA requests reveal files bearing the name Project WhisHdom, a ghost of a program referenced in cryptic, heavily redacted reports. No clear follow-up emerges. No answers. Only black bars concealing what might shatter understanding or sanity. Researchers on Twitter, piecing together the shattered digital trail, unearthed deleted posts and shadow-banned accounts. Voices once bold, now scrubbed from existence. These early whistleblowers spoke in cryptic bursts about mind-altering broadcasts, strange frequencies pulsing beneath the static, signals linked to WhisHdom itself, penetrating beyond sound, bending perception. Their disappearances and silence ripple like warnings, a spectral chorus fading into the void. Communities online speak of something deeper, a paradox of collective amnesia, where memories fracture and blackouts sweep through those who come too close. Time lost, moments erased like tears wiped clean from glass. Those who report encounters with WhisHdom signals describe slipping through cracks in their own minds, as if their consciousness was commandeered by something alien, rewriting their history in real time. This enforced forgetting feels less like accident and more like design, a systematic erasure to protect an unbearable truth from surfacing. What price is paid when reality itself becomes the battleground for control over memory? Patterns emerge, chilling and precise, threading through whispered accounts. Unexplained disappearances shadow those who sought deeper knowledge. Activists, bloggers, and ordinary seekers vanish without trace, cut from the web, their lives severed from the collective narrative. The more they pursued the WhisHdom stories, the tighter the noose of paranoia grew. A spectral silence descends, a warning that those who pry too deeply become hunted, targets of a shadow war fought in the realm of secrets and silence. Every missing person leaves a hollow space, another unanswered question bleeding into the night. Within this echo chamber of silence, obsession blooms like a poison. Paranoia claws at the edges of every mind that tries to unravel the truth, twisting the pursuit into a labyrinth of half-truths, enforced forgetting, and buried realities. The seekers become lost within the maze, trapped between the desperate need to know and the unbearable weight of what they might find. Each revelation fractures their grasp on sanity, as the boundaries between watcher and watch dissolve, leaving only the creeping dread that the silence itself is alive, hungry, waiting, ready to consume those who listen too closely. Beneath the cacophony of conflicting whispers and fractured testimonies, a pulse hums, a frequency just beyond the edge of perception, slipping through the noise like a heartbeat drowned beneath waves of static. This is the signal beneath the noise, elusive, inscrutable, and impossible to ignore. WhisHdom, they say, does not announce itself with clarity. It creeps in through whispered codes that flicker in the mind's ear, through phantom voices that echo in empty rooms, through glitches in vision that seem to tear the fabric of reality. Is it a weapon crafted in secret labs? A message from a forgotten realm? Or a gateway to something too vast and alien for human minds to hold? The signal fractures understanding, splintering thoughts and twisting the boundaries of sanity, leaving those who encounter it adrift between worlds. Experts in audio forensics delve into fragments of alleged WhisHdom recordings, uncovering layers beneath the audible, subliminal pulses and frequency shifts that defy natural explanation. These patterns slip between the notes, invisible waves that tug at the subconscious, impossible to replicate by any known technology. Each playback invites unease, a creeping tension that vibrates beneath the skin, as if the recording itself carries a hidden intent, something designed not just to be heard, but to be felt in the deepest recesses of the brain. Voices from shadowed corridors of the military and intelligence communities emerge, cautious and coded. Former insiders hint at clandestine experiments involving low-frequency transmissions aimed at controlling minds, bending wills, breaking resistance. These whispered confessions sketch a disturbing landscape of psychological warfare, where sound becomes a weapon and perception the battlefield. Were these experiments the origin of WhisHdom? Or is WhisHdom something older, something that merely found a way to co-opt human technology for its own inscrutable purposes? In the wilds of Reddit, fragmented accounts paint a chilling picture. Groups of users describing synchronized hallucinations, shared nightmares that descend after exposure to specific broadcasts labeled WhisHdom signals. These experiences are not isolated, they ripple across communities, weaving a collective tapestry of terror and fascination. Eyes see things that should not be seen, minds spiral into shadowed realms where time bends and reality dissolves. The signals invade, and with them come moments where time stretches thin or collapses entirely, fleeting seconds that become eternity, or hours that vanish without trace. These temporal anomalies suggest a manipulation not just of consciousness, but of time itself, a power that undermines the very foundation of experience. Caught in the thrall of the signal, the mind teeters on the edge, a fragile balance between awe and abject terror. Knowledge seduces, promising glimpses into truths too vast to name, but the price is steep. The deeper the signal seeps, the more the soul fractures, haunted by shadows that whisper in dead languages, visions that bleed into waking life, and an understanding that to truly know may be to lose everything. It is a siren song of forbidden insight, an invitation into madness wrapped in the cold beauty of a cosmic secret. The signal beneath the noise is no mere broadcast. It is a summons, and those who listen risk vanishing into its uncharted depths. They do not linger long, these faces, brief flickers in broken screens, glimpses caught in the static's cold embrace. But once seen, they refuse to fade. The watchers of WhisHdom are not mere shadows slipping past perception. They wear faces, fractured, shifting, and utterly alien. Eyes that do not blink, mouths that neither speak nor smile, expressions carved from silence and dread. Are these apparitions the mind's desperate attempt to give shape to the unknowable? Or are they something far more? Sinister, manifestations of guilt made flesh, or perhaps entities born from the signal itself, reaching out to claim the watcher as the watched? The human impulse to find a face in the dark becomes a snare, a trap from which there is no escape. Because these faces stare back, drilling into dreams, haunting the edges of waking life with an accusing quiet that gnaws at the soul. Those who have ventured close speak of glitch beings, figures that flicker at the edges of vision during intense WhisHdom episodes, their presence marked by sudden chills, headaches, or worse. The body rebels, the mind fractures, and the boundaries between reality and hallucination blur. Analysis of grainy videos and distorted images linked to WhisHdom consistently reveals humanoid shapes that defy logic, forms that twist geometry itself, faces that shift in impossible ways, as if the very structure of these watchers is a cipher designed to unhinge the observer. These images are never clear, always broken, fragments of a reality too fractured to fully reveal itself. Witnesses recount a growing paranoia that persists long after exposure, the feeling of being followed, watched from shadows that seem to breathe and pulse with awareness. Every glance over the shoulder, every shadow that moves against the light feeds into a creeping terror, a sense of inescapability that smothers hope. It is as if once you see the face in the static, you are marked, tethered to a presence that will not relent. This is not mere paranoia. It is a slow erosion of the self, a forced acknowledgement that the watchers are real and their gaze is endless. Internet folklore, whispered in forgotten forums and buried archives, ties these faces to a long-lost experiment, one designed to manipulate the deepest human emotions, empathy and fear. A psychological weapon forged in the shadows, its purpose obscured but its effects undeniable. To see these faces is to confront the emotional weight of what humanity has unleashed or refused to confront, a mirror held up to our darkest impulses and deepest regrets. Guilt becomes a living force here, embodied by these haunting visages. They are more than specters, they are reflections of the internal struggle, the heavy burden of confronting what we have ignored, suppressed, or willfully forgotten. Each face in the static carries a silent accusation, a reminder that some doors, once opened, cannot be closed. And those who dare to look back risk being consumed by the very guilt those faces wear like a second skin. Truth hangs by a thread, thin and trembling, barely holding against the weight of lies and deliberate silence. To grasp at it is to risk tearing the fragile fabric that binds what we know to what we fear. The WhisHdom stories do not offer closure, only a slow, creeping dread that settles like a shadow over the mind. What if the pursuit of answers itself is the invitation? The act of looking deeper, probing the darkness, might awaken forces that prefer to remain unseen. In this twisted maze of obsession and grief, every revelation fractures reality further, leaving only the flicker of a question. What if seeking the truth is the summons that pulls the darkness closer, that breaks the fragile boundary between nightmare and waking life? The final piece of the puzzle remains forever just out of reach, a whisper fading as silence closes in, swallowing everything whole. Conflicting timelines knot the story tighter. As WhisHdom legends spread and mutate, real-world disappearances and strange phenomena mirror their eerie rhythms, suggesting a hidden, sinister choreography beneath the surface. Declassified files speak of a shadow agency, an unseen hand tracking WhisHdom activity with cold precision, but key sections are redacted, leaving haunting gaps that feel like deliberate erasures. These blank spaces in the record become as telling as any confirmed fact. Silence used as a weapon against understanding. Online communities once united by shared curiosity now fracture under paranoia's heavy hand. Members vanish without explanation. Others claim the entire saga is a form of psychological warfare, a carefully constructed nightmare seeded to control minds rather than reveal truth. The line between belief and delusion blurs, as theories explode in every direction. Interdimensional contact, clandestine government mind control, collective hysteria, none fully satisfying, all poisoning the well of reason with creeping unease. In the end, the emotional current pulls tight, a relentless cocktail of grief and obsession. The viewer is left suspended in limbo, caught between the desperate need to believe in something beyond the silence and the primal terror of knowing that some truths come at a price too great to bear. The thread unravels, but it does not break. It drags you further into the dark, where the whisper lingers and the silence waits.